We still didn't finish grading the exam papers. We just came back to school. So probably I'm going, inshallah, on Wednesday to start grading the papers. Okay. Now for the students who didn't turn in the missing work, you have only 1 day left. You have only 1 day left. So please make sure that you turn in your missing assignment from trimester number 1. This is going to be the last chance. All right. So in this catalog, which is available now on the Lenovo page for accounting class, I want you to scroll down to page number 2. In page number 2, this is a list of the topics that we're going to cover during trimester 2. Number 1, we're going to continue with the role of the investment appraisal methods, the ARR and the payback period. Then we're moving on to a new topic. Then we are moving to a new topic, which is the break-even, right?
Good morning,
Good morning, Mazen. So the second topic that we're going to cover is the calculation of the break-even analysis, and we want to know what is the role of the break-even analysis as a tool in decision-making. So we want to know if you're working for an airlines company like Lufthansa or Egypt Airlines or Canada Airlines or whatever, how many tickets are you supposed to sell in order just to recover the costs of the operation, right? We're going to talk about different types of costs, variable costs, fixed costs, semi-variable costs, and how can we make sure that we sell like the break-even amount in order to be able to recover the costs of production, in order to make 0 profits, 0 losses. This is the meaning of the break-even analysis or the break-even points. The third topic is the sources of financing business activities. Let's assume that we have a company, an airlines company, and this company is growing. So this company definitely needs to buy some more airplanes and buy new tools and hire more workers. So in this case, we need more cash, right? We need more funds. We need
يا معتز مش معايا والله.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. by mistake. I'm sorry.
Yes. So for the sources of finance here, we're going to learn about, okay, when the business is growing now, we want more cash. We want more money to be able to buy machines, to buy new airplanes, to hire more air hostess and pilots, because our company is growing. Now, how can we finance this type of business growth? How can we finance this increase in the number of the operations and the flights provided by the company? So this is what we're going to learn. We're going to evaluate different possibilities to finance the business growth. In the last section of the document, you're going to find a number of resources. Bloomberg, this is a website with articles on business and accounting and economics, so this is very important. Irish Times, Morningstar.com, where we're going to find a number of financial reports for multinational companies, for big companies. So we're going to use this website to search for the financial reports for a number of companies, including Microsoft, Pfizer, and other companies, which are multinational companies. This trimester, we're going to use Zoom instead of the Learnovia meeting facility. So we're just going to use the Zoom for the live sessions. Any questions? For the students who just joined us late, again, there is one more chance for you to turn in your missing assignments from trimester 1. You have only 24 hours. So I still didn't receive any missing assignments. Okay? Again, one more chance to turn in your missing assignments from trimester 1. Any questions before I move on? Any questions or concerns before I move on? You know, I'm giving you time to share any questions or to share any concerns. So if I receive any phone calls, I'm not going to answer. If I'm receiving WhatsApp, okay. I'm not going to answer because I'm giving you time here to share any questions, to ask any questions. But, so now without further ado, we're going to start the new section. Yes. Any questions? All right. Now we're moving on to the presentation slides. So for the presentation slides, you may find it under week 12, under week 15 to 16. So you'll find this as a PDF file. So in this chapter, we're talking about the sources of finance. Okay, if we are facing a situation where we want to make our business bigger, it means that we need more cash. How can we get more cash? This is what we're going to learn in this chapter. Now let's start with this question. What do we mean by the word finance? Anybody? What do we mean by this word, finance? Mazen, Omar, Ziad, Ez.
Yes, Mr.
Are you familiar with the word finance? What do we mean by the word finance? It's in yellow. It's written in yellow in this slide.
Mr. Money?
Yes, definitely. This is the money which is needed to finance different or to pay for different operations that the company needs to implement or to carry out, right? Okay. So the meaning of the word finance, as you said, is the money needed to pay for the salaries, to pay for buying new equipment, to pay for different things. All right. Now, the second term that we're going to use more often in this chapter is the sources of finance. So when we're talking about the sources of finance, we want to look at the word, the question word, where can we get the money from in order to pay for the salaries, to pay for the prices of the new equipment that we need to buy, and so on, right? All right. So this is a mind map for why do businesses need finance? Number one, to start up. we're still starting up the business. We still didn't, we still didn't sell anything. We still didn't produce anything. So we're just starting up. We need to buy land. We need to buy some equipment. We need to, um, provide some decorations for the business headquarters and so on, right? The second is that we need to pay for the everyday bill payments, electricity, water, supplies, and so on, right? Then take over a bid. So we might buy a new company. So Facebook bought the application WhatsApp. It paid like $19 billion. So this is the meaning of take over bid. When a company is buying another company, this company needs a certain amount of money to buy the other, right? Replace machinery or equipment. Definitely, we need to have a certain amount, sufficient amount to buy or replace the machine. Internal growth and also the expansion. So these are the reasons, or these are the reasons that we need finance for the business. Starting up, everyday bill, take over bid, replace machinery, equipment, internal growth, and expansion. All right, so this is the detail for each one of these business needs in terms of the finance. When we're starting up, we need to pay money to build the buildings, to build the factory, to build the warehouse, to build the different facilities that the business is going to use in order to produce, right? So the cost of the building, the money needed to pay for the machinery, the money needed to pay for the raw materials, and also the office equipment. So this is the money needed for the starting of capital. Right? The second is the working capital. We took this before, right? We took this before, the working capital. So what do we mean by working capital? Malak, what do we mean by the term working capital? Working capital. So what do we mean by this term? It is the money needed to pay for what? Day to day. So is there a difference between the starting up capital and the working capital? The first and the second? Working capital and starting up capital. Is there a difference between the two? Which capital is needed once, only once, just to start up? Only once in a while, definitely. But which amount of money should be, should be more costly?
I think برضه
Which
starting
of,
up.
yeah, the starting up capital, definitely. We want to buy land, we want to build buildings, we want to buy machines. So sometimes, yes, it is very costly. Okay. And also for the working capital for the big companies, because big companies hire a big number of employees and they have operations everywhere in the whole world, like let's say Egypt Air or Air Canada, they have operations everywhere, right? Around the world. So they have to have a big amount of working capital to pay for the day-to-day expenses, right? The third, which is unforeseen events. We want to have a certain amount of finance or money or cash in order to cover the needs in the case of sudden decline in sales. Did you ever imagine what happened to the airlines companies when they stopped their operation during the COVID-19? They're not selling anything. The air flights are stopped, are halted around the world, and therefore we have no revenues as an airline company. We're not selling any airlines tickets. So how can we get the money from? We need to have different sources of finance to pay for the workers, to pay for the managers, to pay for the pilots and so on, right? Any questions about these three main points? Why do we need the capital?
No, thank you, Mr.
Working capital, unforeseen events when we lose sales. When this is sudden, it happens without even expecting it to happen. So we need to have different sources of finance because we still need to pay for the pilots and for. All right, so in this chapter, we're going to talk about different types of sources of finance. It can be either internal, we are using our money. We are using our money. Like when we talked about the retained profit. So what do we mean by retained profits? We took this term before. Retained profits.
Mister, I'm not sure, but like I think it is the income أو حاجة صح؟
Okay, a retained profits, we took this in the profit and loss account last quarter or last trimester. The retained profit is the amount of the profits remaining after paying all the expenses, taxes, interests, dividends, and everything. So we're just going to keep this amount of profits in case that we need more money in order to spend for any one of these reasons. اللي هو starting up capital, working capital, unforeseen events. So we have to have an extra amount of money instead of going and borrowing money from the bank and paying interest. No, we're going to use our own money, right? Which is the retained profit. الأرباح المحتجزة. We keep a certain amount of money untouched. We're not going to spend it. We're not going to give it to the shareholders. We're not going to give it to the investors and so on. Okay? So this is the first type of sources of finance. It is the internal source of finance, mainly related to the retained profit. Now the second, which is the external sources of finance. Okay, so in the external sources of finance, we're going to use the money of others. We're going to borrow money from the bank. We're going to sell shares. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, but we're not using our own money, right? So external here, it's related to borrowing from banks. Could be selling shares through the stock market. هتروح في بورصة تبيع أسهم وتاخد فلوس through the stock market. So this way, you're not using your own money, but you're using the money of others, of investors, of banks, and so on. Any questions? All right. So let's have a look at the internal sources of finance. This type of source of finance, it's raised internally. So this money belongs totally to the company, right? It is owned by the company. We're not using the money of other people, whether the bank or investors. Okay? Therefore, it does not increase the debts of the business, right? And therefore, there's no accounting cost for this. We are using our own money. We do not have to pay cost for this, right? Okay. Okay, so what are the types of these sources of finance? Number one, retained profits, as we said. Number two, personal savings. When we start a business as a sole trader, you just use your own money, right? You manage to save money for 20 years. I'm going to have my own business. So how can I finance this, my own business? By using my own personal savings, right? I do not want anybody to help me with this. I have enough money. I have enough savings, right? The third one, which is the sales of unwanted assets. And this happens quite often with so many other companies around the world. Probably the company does not want all this number of trucks, all this number of machines. So they might sell 5 machines and get cash. So this is the meaning of the term unwanted asset. We have these number of assets, which is the machines, the buildings, the whatever, machines, buildings, trucks, whatever. We do not want it. We do not use it in the production process, and therefore we just decide to sell it and get the cash instead. So this is another source of finance. Then the sales and the lease back. Any questions? Retained profit, personal saving, sale of unwanted assets, and sale and lease back. Any questions? Yusuf, Ziad, Omar, everybody else. Any questions? All right, let's move on. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Now let's move on to the second type of the sources of finance, which is the external source of finance. All right. In the external source of finance, it's totally the opposite of the internal because you're not using your own money, you're not using your own assets. This amount of money which is collected from these resources, all this amount of money, it doesn't belong to you. You do not own it. Other people does, or other people do, right? So the external source of finance, it's provided by whom? by the business itself or by the people or institutions. Definitely this is given or provided by other people or businesses outside the business, which creates what? Debit, right? And you are required to pay this amount of debt. If you failed to pay this amount of debt, you go to the jail, right? If you fail to pay the interest and the amount of the money borrowed from people, there is a liability, there is responsibility for this. Any questions before I move on? All right. Now, what would be these forms of, or some of the examples of the external sources of finance? We take loans from the bank, right? Or it could be overdraft. We're going to talk about the overdraft, shares, and some, what we call debentures. Walt Disney, this is a company which depends on selling debentures and also stocks. Okay, before I proceed to the following main points, uh, again, I just want to repeat for the students who did not turn in the accounting assignments from trimester 1, you have 24 hours to do this. If you have any questions, just ask me, okay? If you do not know how to do it, just, okay, tell me. But I do not want you to lose this chance. The last chance I spoke with Madame Doudou about this. خلاص. I have no more exceptions. خلاص يعني we just go far and beyond with this. Do not send me your projects on the WhatsApp because my WhatsApp is full with messages from here and there, so I wouldn't be able to track. The only way to turn in your projects, your assignments, your whatever missing coursework is through Learnovia and Learnovia only. I recorded a session for 10 minutes to show you how to upload your coursework. So please do not send me any projects, any missing assignments on the WhatsApp. Do not do it, please. This is for your own sake, by the way, because I might lose track. Okay? Any questions? Okay, do not leave. I'm going to take the attendance. All right, guys. So now you're free to leave unless you have any questions for me, or if you need assistance with any one of the assignments, please let me know. Which email يا which email يا عمر؟ Omar, which email did you send me your projects on? All right, I'll check. No problem. Okay, guys, any more questions? Go ahead, Omar. Omar, you have a question? All right, all right. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day ahead. Be blessed and stay safe. Bye bye. See you next class, inshallah. Salam. You too, Omar.